What's up, guys? One Koala Man here, bringing you episode number 6 of our fairy tale reviews. And if you guys missed last episode, go ahead, I'll give you a few seconds as usual, so go on and check it out. Alright, if you're here still, that means you've seen last episode, so let's get right to it, guys. Alright guys, to start off this episode, we start off at Clover Hill, and Clover Hill is in the city of Clover, and it is where all the guild masters of every single guild in Fiore, I almost said Magnolia, but in Fiore, it's where they all get together and have a meeting, and we're introduced to two new guild masters, and one is from Blue Pegasus, and he is a very interesting looking character. His name is Bob, and as the narrator in the show says, yes, Bob is a guy. He kind of reminds me of Jinx from Pokemon. Alright, so the second guild master we're introduced to has a dog collar on. He's like a cowboy kind of, roughneck looking guy. His name is Goldmine, and he is the guild master of Quattro Cerberus. Alright, so enough of Bob and Goldmine. We don't really know much about them yet because they haven't really done anything yet except talk to Makarov. But anyway, speaking of Makarov, we see a bird coming through, and it brings Makarov like a letter, so it's like a messenger bird kind of thing from Naruto or whatever. But anyways, it brings Makarov a letter, and the letter's from Mira Jane. And the weird thing is, I thought he would, open a letter like a letter's supposed to be opened. But no, he like waves his finger around it, and Mira Jane's like hologram just pops out of it, and she talks about how Natsu, Urza, and Gray are now a team, and she's like saying how amazing it is, and then it goes to Makarov's face, and he's like super shocked. He's like, why does it have to be them three as a team? They could legit destroy an entire city. Why did I do this? Why did I let this happen? Why? So anyways, moving on from Clover Hill, we go on to Kunugi Station. And Kunugi Station is a train station, and the gang, I'm just going to refer to them as the gang, the crew, the squad, you know what I mean, Urza, Lucy, Happy, Natsu, and Gray. Because I don't want to keep saying Natsu, Lucy, Urza, Gray, and Happy. I don't want to keep saying that, so I'll just say whatever. The crew, the squad, the clique, the gang, the group, I don't know if I just said group, but anyways, they overhear that Eisenwald, those chumps from last episode in the Dark Guild, stole a train, so we don't know what he's really, or what they're really going to do with the train just yet, so maybe a little bit later in the episode we'll be able to figure out what exactly they're trying to do with this train. So moving on again from Kunugi Station onto the stolen train in question, Aragorn is ripping Shikamaru V2 a new one because Shikamaru V2 let Natsu see the flute, the big, not big, but the demon flute that Zeref made, the lullaby. And he didn't let him see it, but, it slipped out of his jacket, all that good stuff. All mentioned last episode. But anyways, he's ripping Shikamaru V2 a new one because Natsu saw the flute. Pretty redundant what I just said, but it is what it is. Alright guys, so moving on for the final time, I swear, hopefully, for the final time of this episode, moving on again from the stolen train from Eisenwald down to Oshibana Station. And Oshibana Station is another train station. And so the squad comes up and they find out that Eisenwald and their goons are inside taking over Oshibana Station for whatever kind of reason. And so they go in and they try and find the Eisenwald guild, and so they eventually find the guild, and there's actually a lot of people in it. I thought it was just Aragorn, Shikamaru V2, the guy looks like King Tut, and some chubby little fat boy. But apparently there's an entire, group of Eisenwald members. So there's them, and there's, the squad, as usual, and Aragorn explains what he plans to do with the lullaby. He plans to cleanse, like every other, bad guy of whatever. He plans to cleanse the world of people who take their rights for granted, So he wants to cleanse that and just, kill him off. He's pretty much just saying he wants a genocide, but, that's Aragorn. and he's just explaining what he wants to do with Lullaby. So the squad is elaborating on what to do about the big giant situation of Eisenwald, and Urza tells Natsu and Gray to split up and go together, which is already a sign of disaster because Gray and Natsu really hate each other, because Fire and Ice really hate each other. But she tells them they better go off and do their own thing, while Urza, Lucy, and I guess Happy, if you really want to count Happy as, you know, a fighter, but it's them three against the whole crew of Eisenwald, except Aragorn, who just magically disappeared into Lord knows where, Shikamaru V2, and King Tut. Now King Tut's the pharaoh looking guy with the, you know, the Egyptian looking stuff on his head. But anyways, Shikamaru V2 and King Tut are following Natsu and Gray and seeing what they're doing while they follow Aragorn and try and find Aragorn. So now that the squad figured out what they're going to do, Natsu and Gray are on their way doing whatever, trying to find Aragorn. But back on the main battlefield, so to speak, Urza, we find out what Urza can do, and she can switch weapons, which is later found out that it's called requipping. So she's requipping swords, and she can requip swords super fast. Like, all she does is hold out her hand, and a sword, an axe, a giant hammer, a screwdriver, whatever, will pop up, and she'll use that. She starts wailing on everybody. Well, everybody in Eisenwald, not Lucy and Happy. But anyways, she starts bombing on everybody, and Lucy decides, hey, I don't want to stand back. I just want to, you know, I want to start helping out. And Happy says, oh, don't steal the limelight from Urza. Why do you got to do that kind of stuff? But anyways, Lucy summons Cancer the Crab, my favorite so far, my favorite celestial spirit. No, our favorite zodiac spirit, because Pluto is my favorite celestial spirit. But anywho, Lucy summons Cancer, and Cancer starts using his scissors, and not only can he cut hair, he can cut weapons. So he cut everybody's weapons, and he gave them legit hairdos. Well, you know, kind of like bald, and then with a, you know, looking like they're 50. So they run away for whatever reason, and little chubby boy says, do you know who the Urza is? And apparently she is the queen of the fairies. Now, I don't know what that means yet, but she's the queen of the fairies. And not only, before I forget, not only can she change her weapons, she also requips and changes into her armor, and it's a whole animation. I'll probably show it right now, but it's a whole animation on what she does, and it's pretty legit. All the Eisenwald guys are saying, ooh, she's getting out of her armor, sweet. And so they're going all goo-goo eyes, and oh, my notes just fell. But anyways, they're getting goo-goo eyes over Urza, you know, getting undressed or whatever, and she just destroys them all with this legit looking armor with a bunch of swords like around her. And you know, the armor is kind of, you know, making her her eyes pop out, you know what I mean. But yeah, they're making her eyes pop out, so to speak. And she just destroys everybody with one swipe. And then little tubby boy starts running away because he does not want to deal with Urza and her big eyes. So yeah. So now we go on to Natsu and Gray, and they run into what's that called? It's divided in the hallway, like a forked highway or whatever, but forked hallway. And so they decide to split up, and they actually have a touching moment. It's not that touching, but you know, they say, make sure you do blah blah blah, and Gray mumbles like, don't die on me. So I guess Gray does care about Natsu, or maybe he wants Natsu to stay alive so Gray could kill him. But for whatever reason, they have that, and then they just look away from each other because they're like super upset about looking at each other's, you know, face or whatever. And they both go their separate way, and Gray ends up in a studio because he assumes that Aragorn is gonna play the lullaby flute, and he's gonna broadcast it over the train station, and everybody in the Oshibana area. And he goes into the studio, and turns out nobody's there. So he's thinking, am I wrong or something? And then Mr. King Tut himself comes down from the ceiling, doing whatever it is his magic is, having little things popping out from his fingers. It's kind of it's like a mummy thing, you know. I actually just noticed that right now. It's like a mummy. Like, he looks Egyptian. His thing kind of reminds you of like a mummy, kind of. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So yeah, they start, you know, duking it out, and Natsu's still trying to figure out where Aragorn is, and Shikamaru V2 is still following him. He's literally right behind Natsu, you know, in the shadows, lurking around like, you know, like Shikamaru does. I'm sure Shikamaru does that on his free time with Ino, but that's Naruto talk. Let's talk about Fairy Tail. So King Tut and Gray are doing their thing, duking it out in the studio, and we move on. Again, I know, a lot of moving on here and there. I know I said earlier it would be the last time, but I can't. We just gotta move on. Don't blame me, blame the episode for moving on from point to point to point to point. But anyways, on to Urza, who is outside on the balcony of the station, and she gets her megaphone or whatever, and she talks to the crowd of people surrounding the bottom area of the station, and she tells them all to evacuate if they value their lives. And she's giving her whole spiel about that, and she turns away after telling everybody, hey, get out of here or you're gonna die. And she tells the guards, you get out of here too, leave this to the professionals, obviously you're not doing your job. But anyways, she turns around and there's a big giant tornado, or barrier in other words, a big giant barrier around the station. And Aragorn, you know, lo and behold, Aragorn was the one to make that big giant tornado barrier, and he throws Urza. It's kind of weird how he does it. He makes like a little portal of some sort, and he doesn't physically push Urza, but like Urza like falls into it or whatever, and she lands inside, and she tries to escape, but she can't because the wind will just tear her apart. Even though her armor is really good, it'll still tear everything apart. So I don't know how they're really gonna get out. Natsu, Lucy, the rest of the squad, they don't really know what's going on just yet outside of the building. They're still busy doing whatever they're trying to do. Alright guys, so this is the final moving on point, because it's pretty much the end of the episode. So Gray is fighting King Tut, and he eventually, you know, pins him against the wall, and King Tut's describing what their real motive is. And their real motive is not to broadcast it throughout the station. No, that's too small. That wouldn't get them famous. Come on now. No, they took a train from what was it called? Oshibana Station, and they're going to Clover. And if you remember in the beginning of this episode, Clover Hill is where the guild masters are. And if you can, you know, add 2 and 2, they are going to try and kill or eternally put to sleep every single guild master with the lullaby. So that is their true goal of what to do. So Gray finds out, he freezes King Tut all over the place, and that pretty much just ends the episode. But how are they going to get past that giant wind barrier? They can't go over it, they can't go through it, they can't go under it. What are they going to do? I don't know. We'll see next episode, guys. Alright guys, you already know what I'm about to say right now, and that is the question of the day. And the question of the day is pertaining to Urza's re-equipping, you know, magic or whatever. And if you had the power to re-equip, what would your weapon of choice be? And mine personally would be a bow, because I've never shot a bow. I've only shot like the little suction cup bows back when I was a kid, or the Nerf bows, and I just think it would be fun just shooting arrows at people. That'd be legit. I always loved seeing people shooting arrows on like movies and cartoons and, you know, anime or whatever. I just always loved that. So let me know in the comments down below, what would your weapon of choice be, or weapons, if you wanted to go with like Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the little scythes, or no, size, I don't know what they're called, but anyways, one of those. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Also, follow me on Twitter. I'll give you some updates. I might rant a little bit about whatever and whenever. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you guys later.